Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette. In today's video, we'll talk you through the style and how to select a pair of driving gloves so you understand how the heck to wear these things. So when it comes to driving gloves, we've made the monumental discovery that the best way to wear them is on your hands. Okay, I guess we're done. See ya. Just kidding. We will never leave you with just simplistic advice like that. I mean, after all, it is really fun to talk about driving gloves. Driving gloves are an iconic piece of classic menswear, and they've been worn by famous people like Ryan Gosling, Steve McQueen, and many Bond characters. Driving gloves exude the classic style charm of a classic car. But driving gloves can be very difficult to pull off in an outfit, as they often look costumey. So in this video, we'll teach you how to wear driving gloves properly and in what occasions to incorporate them into a classic wardrobe so you never look like you're wearing a costume. And as always, we'll add a little bit of history too. But please keep in mind, this video is not about leather day gloves. Raphael will tell you more about that in this video here. But if you also want a full written explanation of driving gloves, you can check out our guide on that here. But before we get started, let us know down in the comments below how you wear your driving gloves, and we'll see if they match ours. Now, we're going to keep the history section relatively brief, but if history isn't your thing anyway, feel free to use the chapters down below to jump ahead. Modern driving gloves evolved from driving gauntlets, which were full-sized, flared leather gloves worn as a practical solution to the difficulties of early motoring. After all, the earliest automobiles had no power steering, no climate control, and no protection from dust and mud, and they were subject to massive vibrations in the steering wheel. So heavy gloves were essential as they kept the driver's hands warm and clean as he operated a motored vehicle. Also, having gloves made of leather allowed for a better grip on the steering wheel. But as car technology improved, the gloves were slimmed down and were made into a luxurious product for those who drove really nice cars. They exuded class and luxury, and stylish gentlemen continued to wear them. After all, they were still very useful for better grip, regulating temperature, reducing hand fatigue, improving insulation, protecting the steering wheel from sweat and moisture, and well, they just looked so cool. These are all the reasons why driving gloves can and should still be worn today. And that begs the question, if driving gloves are so awesome, and they are, why don't more gentlemen wear them today? Now, on the one hand, get it? Driving gloves are very functional as they were engineered for practicality. Many of the details that make driving gloves so practical also make them very hard to style. The ventilation seems very odd at first because driving gloves were originally meant for insulation and warmth. Driving gloves also tend to be cut shorter than other gloves for increased mobility. This can seem odd at first glance, and having snaps on them can also seem clunky and obtrusive. However, these characteristics also make driving gloves very unique. So you have to be a little bit more attentive when it comes to wearing driving gloves and the situations where you wear them. And on the other hand, driving gloves have seen a lot of anti-driving glove slander because people who wore driving gloves would act superior to others, or because they wanted to look the part of someone who was a real motorhead but also didn't know how to actually use the car. So driving gloves quickly became associated with snobs and posers. As an example, check out this excerpt from a 1989 article by Motorhead journalist Brock Yates. Picture this. Here's a guy decked out in a soft wool turtleneck and a leather jacket so lustrous it looked like congealed 30-weight motor oil. His long fingers are sheathed in supple leather driving gloves, the kind with wrist snaps and holes on the backs. But why would any normal human want to drive around suited up like that? Showing up behind the wheel of a Toyota dressed like the runner-up in a Marcello Mastroianni look-alike contest makes no more sense than boarding the next shuttle flight to Gotham wearing Charles Lindbergh's leather helmet and flight suit. Ouch. Obviously, wearing driving gloves to show off or exclude others is the wrong idea. But that doesn't mean you can't wear driving gloves for the right reasons. Finally, driving gloves and leather gloves in general are often associated with villains and criminals in pop culture. This is an idea that Preston broke down in greater detail here. Besides these minor road obstacles, we believe that driving gloves definitely deserve a place in any well-appointed classic style wardrobe. So let's discuss how you can look great in this classic menswear accessory. Now, because driving gloves do improve your driving experience, it's best to wear driving gloves while you're driving. Surprise, surprise. And no, you don't need a vintage Porsche or a supercar to enjoy driving gloves. Really, they can make any drive feel more luxurious. After all, quality driving gloves can make any car feel like a Ferrari. Well, not every car. So if you primarily wear your driving gloves in the car, pick a color and style that suits your automobile. Now, your outfits will consistently change day by day, but odds are the interior of your car won't. Unless, of course, you live in Liberty City. Now, most contemporary car interiors are fairly neutral, so they will look good with most classic glove colors like blues, reds, greens, and blacks. And if your car has a more exotic or vintage interior that's more exclusive or unique, it gives you the opportunity to create an even more unique pairing. But you'll want to keep in mind the following advice that also applies to matching your driving gloves to your paint job. Complementary or contrasting colors will add a pop of personality, while still directly associating your driving gloves to your car. Oh, sorry, I was just daydreaming about that Lexus. And while we're not typically fans of the color black, black has a really nice place in the classic menswear history of this glove, so it's acceptable here. Now, exactly matching the color of your gloves to your car for more common colors such as red or black is perfectly fine, but if you have more unique colors, this can look a little too matchy-matchy. And unless you're doing it intentionally for effect, doing clashing colors really isn't a great idea. And for a full breakdown on colors in classic menswear, check out our guide on that here. Now, because driving gloves will typically live inside your car, it's also perfectly acceptable to switch over to different gloves when you get out of your car. On a cold day, unlined driving gloves make sense in your car, but once you get out, your hands will be quite cold. And when you're not wearing driving gloves, it's best to keep them stored properly to extend their life. Keep your driving gloves stored flat with the fingers extended. Some great spots might be in the console, or under the dashboard, or in the glove box. I mean, hey, it's in the name. And yes, driving gloves can be worn outside of your car. While they were designed for cars, other practical accessories like aviator sunglasses and beam boots, driving gloves can be styled outside of their original intended use for a great effect. Driving gloves are a great way to exude a casual and dynamic style. They can add a touch of personality and can be combined with various outfits. They can add the perfect finishing touch to a casual outfit, or added to a more formal one to keep it from looking too stuffy. And because they're typically unlined, they can be worn in warm weather without any issue. They're also perfect for those transition seasons as they keep your hands warm and comfortable. The most individual way to try out driving gloves is to merely experiment with them and go for it. You want to do this to find unique and exciting ways to combine them into your own wardrobe. This is best practice when combining an outfit around these driving gloves as the statement piece. But in general, leather driving gloves follow the same general style as other winter gloves, and Kyle has a guide on that here. But to get you started, here are our favorite style tips when it comes to driving gloves. So if you're first getting started with driving gloves and you're not sure if they're for you, the best way to start is with casual outfits. Full suits typically work best with daytime dress gloves, although they can be worn with driving gloves. But ensembles that are combinations of jacket and trousers work a lot easier when it comes to driving gloves. As we said, they can be worn with more formal ensembles, but the key is to wear refined and very neutral colors that will harmonize with the overall ensemble. Because if the gloves have too much pop, it will clash with the formality of the outfit. Unless, of course, you're trying to go for a bolder look. After all, there's a reason why these are so popular at Piazza Uomo. However, you should avoid them when it comes to formal wear. Instead, opt for proper day dress gloves. In general, driving gloves are even easier to bring into an outfit that has casual, more rugged elements, such as a bomber jacket or a motorcycle jacket. They also work well with top coats and trench coats. And it's typically easier to wear long sleeves rather than short sleeves when it comes to driving gloves. Because quite frankly, wearing short sleeves can look a little odd unless you really lean into the preppy sort of motorhead vibe. Overcoats, however, typically look better with traditional dress gloves. And odds are if you're wearing an overcoat, it typically is too cold to wear unlined driving gloves. You want to go for a lined, longer glove. Trust me, your fingers will thank you. And when it comes to color, as with dress gloves, adding a little bit of color and spice is perfectly fine. And in fact, this typically leans more into classic style than boring, plain black and brown. Now, as long as the formality level allows for it, they can fit right in place. Driving gloves can add a refreshing, complementary, or contrasting color. And because it's a more casual accessory, it's supposed to have more color and pop. And because they're typically made with very smooth leather with not a whole lot of grain, you don't have to worry about it clashing with other textures in your outfit. But please note some of the more casual details, such as the contrast stitching or perforations. So now you have all the knowledge you need to classically combine and add driving gloves to your ensembles. Now, before I say goodbye, we can take a brief moment and talk about how to choose quality driving gloves. While all the hallmarks of driving gloves can be found in our guide, here are a few more tips. We can really quickly highlight 3 of the most important characteristics right now. You want to pick a classic color, and by classic, we don't necessarily mean boring and dull. but also don't get sucked into trends or wacky colors and hues like lime green or bright purple. A classic color palette will keep them very interesting without going overboard, especially if the gloves have contrast detailing. Oftentimes, driving gloves look off because they have a really baggy or mismatched fit, so fit is very important. The most common offender is knuckle holes that don't perfectly line up with your knuckles. So avoid manufacturers with the typical small, medium, large sizing, as these won't have a precise fit. Or even worse, one size fits all. I mean, who thinks that hands are all one size?
Fans, take a look at this. Can you believe that? Perhaps even, let's compare it to the size of my head. Andre...
Instead, stick with brands with genuinely sized gloves. And in addition, they compensate for your hands, which are difficult to fit, with things to adjust like snaps. And replacing hard to properly align knuckle holes with an elegant woven panel section. Invest in craftsmanship. At the end of the day, cheap gloves look cheap. And this is especially true when it comes to driving gloves, as cheap examples are intended to look costumey. Many of the quality hallmarks for driving gloves also apply to dress gloves, and if you want more of a guide on dress glove leather and quality, Raphael has a guide on that here. But in general, go for rich, supple, durable leather that has been expertly assembled with quality seams that ensure flexibility, with functional details that you actually need, like no lining, or unique treatments like touchscreen functionality. If your car has a touchscreen GPS or console display, you'll find great use for that. So whether you drive a vintage Mercedes-Benz or a Lotus or a Toyota or Honda, these gloves will work great for you. The right pair of driving gloves will set the mood for your driving, whether you're invoking the bygone elegance of classic touring or the white knuckle intensity of racing. So we hope that you enjoyed today's video, and that even though driving gloves can typically seem a niche accessory, that they really can be incorporated in classic style ensembles, which is unlike a lot of the other vintage motoring accessories, like try wearing goggles. I mean, hey, tell me what you think. Should we start selling Fort Belvedere motoring goggles? Let us know down in the comment below what car you drive and what driving glove colors you wear while driving it. My outfit today is pretty simple for the spring-summer season. It features a blue knit polo shirt with a 4-button placket in a popover style. It was made to measure for me by Proper Cloth. My pants are in a cream cotton. They're a high rise with a single pleat from Collier. I'm wearing a pair of dark brown leather loafers from Skolix and wearing no socks with them since it's hot outside. On my wrist, I'm wearing a Nomos Neomatic with a blue dial. And when it comes to cologne, I have on the Roberto Ugolini Azzurro. This has a really nice light scent for the spring and summer months. If you want to check out any of the Fort Belvedere products, click the shop link down below.